Welcome back, everyone. It's great to see you here in our next session of StoryForge Academy. Settle in, take a deep breath, and let your mind open a little wider than usual because today's lesson is one of the most liberating parts of the writing craft. In this session, we're diving deep into the world of genre. We're going to explore how different genres, horror, comedy, romance, and action, shape the emotional physics of a story. You'll learn why the same scene can feel terrifying in one genre, hilarious in another, tender in a romance, and explosive in an action piece. By the end of this class, you'll understand how genre influences pacing, tone, character behavior, and reader expectations. You'll also learn how to take a single idea and express it in multiple narrative worlds. And of course, we'll finish with a hands-on exercise that pushes your creative boundaries. Writing one scene in two different genres to train your flexibility as a storyteller. Before we begin, if you're enjoying these lessons and want to support the growth of StoryForge Academy, make sure to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. Your support truly fuels the work we're building here. Let's get started. Session 8. Genre and their codes. Horror, comedy, romance, action. How each genre thinks, breathes, and demands. 1. Why genre exists and why it isn't your prison. Readers are pattern-seeking creatures. Long before linguistic storytelling, humans recognized danger by rhythm. A snapping twig meant a predator. A rustling leaf meant wind. Genre is the modern equivalent of these ancient signals. When a reader picks up a horror story, they expect the world to be unstable and threatening. When they enter a comedy, they expect absurdity and social looseness. Romance promises yearning, obstacles, emotional magnetism. Action promises velocity, disruption, physical stakes. These patterns are comforting not because they repeat, but because they frame our experience. Once you know the frame, you can play inside it, and occasionally break it to surprise the reader. Genre is choreography. Once you know the steps, you can improvise without tripping on your own feet. 2. Horror. Stories where the darkness learns your name. Horror is the genre where fear becomes architecture. The walls, the shadows, the sounds, they all carry intention. The reader expects not simply to be frightened, but to be unsettled. Core dynamics of horror. Horror thrives on 3 intertwined forces. 1. Vulnerability. A vulnerable protagonist is essential. They may be physically weak, emotionally fractured, socially isolated, or mentally unstable. Vulnerability doesn't mean stupidity, it means exposure. The audience must feel, if I were them, I would be in danger too. 2. The unknown. Fear feeds on ambiguity. What you don't explain is often more effective than any creature description. The mind fills gaps with personal nightmares. 3. Disruption of safety. Horror breaks rules that other genres consider sacred. Home, family, sanity, daylight. None are guaranteed. Think of it as a genre that asks, what if the thing you trust most betrays you? Rhythm of horror. Horror moves in slow, tense pulses followed by sharp ruptures. Calm. Suspense. False safety. Shock. Fallout. Good horror allows room for dread to expand. Rushing undermines the atmosphere. Example pattern. A woman hears a knocking in her empty apartment. She checks the door, nothing. She returns to the kitchen, knocking again, closer. She turns, silence, then a whisper behind her. I know you. The mechanics rely on expectation, delay, and the erosion of control. A famous example, The Conjuring, uses classical haunted house rhythms but grounds them with raw emotional stakes, the fear of losing one's family. Hereditary breaks psychological safety. The horror isn't the demon. It's the collapse of identity and family trust. Horror works best when it reveals the darkness within the characters, not just the world. 4. Comedy. Stories that expose the absurd truth of living. Comedy is often treated lightly. but it's structurally one of the most demanding genres. To write effective comedy, you must understand timing, contrast, and social friction. The engine of comedy. Comedy operates on misalignment. The world is crooked, people misunderstand each other, and logic tilts just enough to show its cracks. Core mechanics. Exagération. Not random exaggeration, focused exaggeration. A character's flaw becomes cartoonishly visible under stress. 2. Contradiction. Two characters with incompatible logic systems create comedy through friction. 3. Tension plus relief. Comedy works like controlled anxiety. Build tension, then relieve it with an unexpected turn. 4. Precision. A single misplaced word is enough to ruin a joke. Comedy punishes laziness. Comedy's emotional purpose. Comedy allows readers to confront uncomfortable truths without emotional heaviness. Humanity's strange behavior becomes charming instead of tragic. Famous example: the Grand Budapest Hotel uses deadpan absurdity layered over genuine melancholy. The Office uses social awkwardness as the primary weapon. Characters fear embarrassment more than death. Comedy reveals the fragile ego behind everyday life. 5. Romance. Stories where the heart learns what it wants. Romance might seem like boy meets girl, but real romance? Writing is architecture built from longing. It is about desire, resistance, and emotional transformation. Romance's fundamental pillars. 1. Chemistry. Not physical attraction, emotional tension. Two people who spark when they collide. That spark can be irritation, admiration, conflict, or fascination. 2. Obstacles. If the characters can be together easily, you don't have a story, you have a postcard. Obstacles force characters to grow to deserve love. 3. Emotional arc. The journey inward is as important as the journey outward. A romance protagonist must confront their own defenses. 4. Payoff. The ending must deliver emotional resolution. Union, heartbreak, or bittersweet clarity. The reader expects catharsis, not merely closure. Famous examples. Pride and Prejudice is built on misjudgment and self-discovery. La La Land shows romance as a crossroads of ambition and vulnerability. Normal People proves that intimacy can be both healing and destructive. Romance is powerful when the lovers change each other's trajectory. 5. Action. Stories that race against time and reason. Action is kinetic storytelling. It uses momentum as its primary language. The psychology of action. When writing action, you're not just describing events, you're choreographing adrenaline in the reader's bloodstream. Action demands 1. Urgency. There must be a clock ticking, externally or internally. 2. Constant change. Locations shift, alliances break, plans fail. Action cannot sit still. 3. Competence plus flaws. Action heroes must be capable, but not invincible. We cheer for someone who almost fails repeatedly. Theater spectacle. Action is sensory. Sound, movement, heat, impact, these matter. But spectacle without emotional stakes is noise. Famous examples. Mad Max. Fury Road is a 2-hour chase but grounded by Furiosa's internal rebellion. John Wick uses choreography as storytelling. Violence becomes ritual. Mission Impossible. Fallout works because Ethan Hunt's flaw, his unwillingness to sacrifice anyone, creates the film's conflict. Action is about motion, yes, but meaningful motion. Iffy, cross-genre insights. How to spot the codes. Each genre has its own grammar. Compare how the same situation shifts in meaning under each genre's rules. A character walks into a dark room. Horror. The silence itself feels sentient. Something might be watching. Comedy. They bump into furniture, misread shadows, and panic over harmless objects. Romance. They enter the room expecting someone they desire. The darkness heightens anticipation. Action. They sweep the room quickly. Danger is possible but secondary to the mission. Same setting. different gravitational field. This is why understanding genre frees you instead of trapping you. 6. Examples of famous scenes and what they teach. Horror example. Get Out, The Sunken Place. Jordan Peele uses a calm, hypnotic conversation to unleash psychological terror. The horror is internal, the loss of agency. Comedy example. The Hangover, Waking Up. Chaos, contrast, and confused logic drive the humor. The scene becomes funnier because the characters treat absurdity as normal. Romance example. Before Sunrise, Listening Booth Scene. Barely anything happens, yet the entire emotional core of the film crystallizes. Romance thrives in small, charged gestures. Action example. The Bourne Ultimatum, Waterloo. Multiple threads intersect. Communication, surveillance, pursuit. And the action unfolds through strategy, not brute force. Every genre has a masterpiece that teaches its DNA, and the writing exercise. One scene, two genres. Let's build the exercise as promised. You'll see the same narrative seed grow into two completely different worlds just by shifting genre. Scenario. A young man named Amir arrives at an abandoned train station at midnight to meet someone who claims to know the truth about his missing brother. Version A, horror. The station is dead quiet. The lights flicker. Amir hears footsteps on the upper level, though the platform is empty. He calls out, no answer. His phone vibrates with a message. Don't turn around. Cold breath touches the back of his neck. The scene becomes a psychological trap. Fear turns the environment into a living entity. Version B, comedy. Amir trips on the platform edge, recovers awkwardly, and realizes he's arrived at the wrong station entirely. The mysterious informant turns out to be a confused elderly tourist who thinks Amir is her grandson. She insists he help her find the restroom before discussing anything. The same setup becomes absurd instead of terrifying. Version C, romance, optional extension. The person waiting is Lila, the brother's best friend, who hasn't seen Amir since childhood. Their awkward greeting hides unresolved emotion. The train station becomes a place of memory and longing. Version D, action, optional extension. The meeting is an ambush. Amir spots a laser sight grazing the benches. He dives behind a column as mercenaries descend from the footbridge. The station becomes a battlefield. This exercise trains you to see genre as a lens, not a rule book. 8. How to master genre without becoming predictable. A genre expert doesn't mimic clichés, they understand the psychology of expectation. 3 guiding principles. 1. Honor the emotion, not the stereotype. Horror, dread. Comedy, angst, delight, or embarrassment. Romance or longing. Action, depth, urgency. Focus on the emotional core and your scenes will feel fresh. 2. Use contrast intentionally. A romantic moment in an action film is made stronger by danger. A comedic beat in a horror film can make the next scare twice as effective. 3. Remember that genre is flavor. Your story can mix them, but you must know the rules before bending them. 9. Closing thoughts. Genre as a creative compass. Every storyteller eventually discovers their home genre, but mastery comes from traveling through all of them. When you understand why horror tightens the breath, or why romance softens the chest, or why comedy loosens the mind, or why action accelerates the pulse, you gain control over your reader's emotional journey. Genre is not the destination. It's the weather system your story moves through. Next time you sit down to write, play with these forces. See how your scenes transform with a shift in tension, rhythm, or emotional stakes. This exploration is what turns a writer into a storyteller willing to stretch creativity across new horizons. And that brings us to the end of today's session. You've just taken an important step forward as a storyteller because Mastering genre isn't about memorizing formulas. It's about learning how different worlds breathe. Horror sharpens your tension. Comedy loosens your structure. Romance deepens your emotional truth. Action teaches you momentum and clarity. When you understand these forces, you gain real freedom on the page. If today's lesson sparked new ideas or helped you see your story from a fresh angle, don't forget to like this video. Your support helps the Academy grow and reach more writers. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do, and tap the notification bell so you won't miss the next session. Next class, we'll push even deeper into the craft, building on everything you learned today. Until then, keep writing, keep experimenting, and keep stretching the boundaries of your imagination. See you in the next session.